As someone who reads energy and decodes patterns for a living, I really let my intuition play me. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Lauren. I am your resident intuitive baddie. And yeah, the topic of the day, the topic of the day is basically sometimes the universe will give you exactly what you want specifically just so you can see where you still have weaknesses. So, if you don't already know, my last video, I had described this relationship that I experienced for, at that time, about 3 weeks. Um, and yeah, it was really fast. Basically, in a nutshell, it happened very synchronistically. It was one of those things. I met him on Facebook Marketplace buying mats from him, and then we just got all we he was gonna help me sell my car. I didn't want to sell my car because the speakers were too crisp and Iceman came out, and we were just connecting on a lot of things. We connected on music, we connected on past trial and tribulations when we had talked about what we both wanted out of a relationship. We both wanted honesty, communication, and just like so many things hit. He liked that I was starting a business and that I was taking a chance on myself. He one of his passions is he writes music. We both have Jamaican. There was just like so many things, so many boxes that were being checked. Astrologically, too, we were sister signs. If you don't know much about astrology, your most compatible sign is typically the one that is completely opposite of you of the wheel. So it's like one of those things where opposites attract, but in the like most perfect way. So yeah, I put our charts into the pattern. It says powerful. And yeah, it went like this. First week, all of these things. Oh my god, I'm marrying this guy. I'm like, this is it. This nigga's the one. I don't need to search any further. And oh my god, everything was hitting. And okay, no, well, I will not get into the details of the certain flags that I should have seen early on. Anyways, second week, we're a little more settled. We're a bit more comfortable with each other. He was very stressed that week, and there was a lot of things I was noticing, and I was feeling still confident in it because I knew I was showing up differently, and it had seemed like every time I would bring up something that was bothering me, um, which in the past was something that I would just sweep under the rug. At first, he would get defensive, but then usually the next day he would be like, "Okay, I kind of see what you mean," and I was just like, "Oh my god, cool. We just need time. He just needs time." But then the third week, the third week was like he just kept instigating fights, and it was just like it was one of those things where I was scratching my head because I'm like, I'm not an argumentative person. I am very much somebody who values communication and honesty. I believe in bringing up things when they're relevant so that it doesn't snowball and become something later. I was thinking maybe there were times that I need to adjust or like give him a little bit of time to let certain things sink in before I brought them up because he was saying that was something he needed, but then it was becoming something where it was like it kind of was starting to feel like, oh, he doesn't want me to be honest about the things that are bothering me about him, but he said he valued honesty and communication. So um yeah, so anyways, he would also just in that third partially the second week to the third week, he would keep threatening to leave, and then I'd just be like, at first I was just like, I think like I would just be like, I think you're kind of jumping to conclusions. Like I'm pretty sure we can work these out because it was like it was over really minor things or just like it's just like, no, I'm telling you this because that I have this problem so that you can solve it, not because I don't think this is gonna work out. But by the end of that third week, I was just kind of like, okay, go. Like, you keep telling me you want to leave. I am not going to stop you. You may leave. Uh, and yeah, it just like, it had gotten to a point where I just, at some point, I just stopped responding. Um, Anyways, so he kind of weaseled himself back in around my birthday, which was, it was like a week of not talking. And like, yeah, I was completely fine. I was like, I had accepted it. I was just like, oh, it wasn't what I thought it was. Like, I think I think it's kind of sad because it really could have been a beautiful thing. I think, like, I think personality wise, I think there were just like a lot of things where it definitely would have, we could have been a really great couple together. But it was just, for me, from my perspective, it was just a lot of him getting in his own way. And it's one of those things where I think I really showed him, I think I am the person he thought he was, if that makes sense. Where, yeah, in the beginning when we were talking about like past relationships and stuff, and he was saying that he was the one that would call things out and it would be too honest to his partners, and that's why it wouldn't work out with them. Like, I think, because there were a couple different times where I was like, I think, where I thought that this was why it was supposed to be, like, this relationship was supposed to be and why it would work was sorry, was because we had met our matches. Because there were a couple times where he would call something out for me, but the thing is, just like, I was receptive to it. I was just like, oh no, you're right, you're right, I'm gonna go fix that, I'm gonna work on that. And then I would take actionable steps. But the issue with him was he would kind of get butt hurt, kind of deflect, or, like, kind of flip it on me. And then even if he did accept it, or he would just kind of say the words, but then there would be no follow through. There would be no, okay, this is how I'm going to adjust, or this is what I'm going to do next time. And then it would just happen again. So yeah, it's kind of sad. Um, oh God, why did I go on the tangent? Oh yeah, so he kind of baited me back into a conversation around my birthday because he sent a message around my birthday. I didn't respond to it until after the weekend was done, just because this year for my birthday there was just a lot happening. I had two Tamil friends that were getting married. So if you know anything about their Sri Lankan culture, they do their ceremony and their reception separate. So it was like, I had a ceremony and a henna party the same day. Then the next day was my birthday. Then the next day was the first reception. Then the next day after that was the second ceremony. And the second ceremony, I was a bridesmaid, and my daughter was a flower girl. So it was just a lot. And I knew that if I responded to him and it didn't go well, that it was just going to, I just didn't want that dampening my weekend in any way. I didn't want to give it any possibility. And I was right, because on the Monday when I did decide to respond to him, it at first it felt like it could have been cordial, because I was just like, "Hey, yeah, I appreciate the message. I'm sorry I didn't respond just because I didn't know how it was gonna go." And um, yeah, like, I don't think there's any, like, I don't think you're a bad person. I think you have bad habits, but that's just it. Like, I think that we could have worked things out. But the main reason, or like, what put the nail in the coffin was, we we at some point had discussed running businesses together. It was partially my fault because, or the part that I take accountability for, is in the very beginning he asked if I wanted a partner or support, and I said a partner because the signs and synchronicities were telling me that that he was the one and that I should trust it. And I was like, and I think that's something that I did always want in a partner, is that or this is something that I did very much lack in my previous, like, serious relationships, was just that support in what I wanted to do. And so I think I should have just started off with support. and then see where it had went, because then some of the things that had started arguments were like, okay, well, I've been working on this business for 10 years. I don't want to do 50-50 ownership. It had nothing to do with I was fine with 50-50 profits, but like 50-50 ownership didn't make sense to me, because I'm like, I've been working on this branding and like this concept for 10 plus years. Why the fuck? Like, why would I? And I, like, again, I've known you for all of a month and a half. It was like, I was being very practical, and like every time he showed disdain, um, it was just like a little alarm. And then there was a point where, because we had been having so many arguments, or like, because it was clear that we needed to work on our communication, which is what I said. I said that I wanted to shelve this idea that he had to shift into an audio recording studio, because the logic for it, or the reason he brought it up was like, oh, he knows a lot of people in that industry and he could guarantee foot traffic fast. Whereas I've been very hesitant to really get myself out there, which is, again, some something I take accountability on myself for, where I've had the studio kind of uh, able to rent out, and I've gone back and forth with myself about pricing and little trivial things like how the building looks on the outside, just because I was just insecure, and like, even though I knew there was value in it, I wasn't able to bring myself to even pitch it to other people, because I wasn't seeing the value in what I had been creating. So he used that against me at some point too, which really showed his colors. Anyway, so when basically he had left this luggage at my house, and I knew that this was going to be a problem, because it had felt like he had done it intentionally. Of course, I can't say for sure. This is just me going off of how it felt, because every time we were running into this problem and he was threatening to leave, he would talk about, when can I drop off this luggage. But then when things were good and I was offering to bring it, when I was like, hey, you want me to bring the luggage with me, he would say, oh no, I don't need it right now. And yeah, so after I messaged him after this birthday thing, and we had already kind of started to go in circles now, because I couldn't let go of the fact that he was labeling me as indecisive. And it was like he kept shifting the blame to me and making it about me and my point, or where I was in life, and me not being, kind of like me not being ready, which it just shouldn't have bothered me, because one of the things that I preach is the four agreements. The second agreement is to not take anything personally, because when people point things out in other people, it's typically because that is something that is bothering them within themselves. But when we are bothered by it, it's because there is a part of us that agrees with them. And it might not be in the context that they're putting it, but it might be in another area. And for me, I do think that, I guess, the indecision when it comes to, I guess, how to just push myself through moving with the studio, was where I was allowing him to get the better of me, because I just should have let it go. I just should have been like, okay, that's your opinion. You don't know me. Because the what I kept defending was, I went back on the decision, but I went back to what I wanted to do. Like, you were trying to move me from what I wanted to do for your benefit. And I took some time to think about it, and I wasn't even shelving it. I was saying, let me try my way first, and then we can, and as we build our communication, and then we can do it. And it was just like, he just hit. Now as I'm talking about this, like, the more that I rehash the story, I'm realizing just how much he was trying to rush me in that aspect, in like the business aspect. And I think it's mainly because it benefited him. And it's funny because he told on himself really early on in the relationship, because there was a point where he said that a lot of his partners would say that about him, that he couldn't do, or that he needed them to be able to do his own thing or something like that. But he framed it as like hyper independence, and just like, oh, they wouldn't accept his help. And I realized that that's what he was kind of doing with me too, because when he threw back the whole, oh, you've been doing this for 10 years and there's no results in my face, I was like, wait a minute, I have an actual studio. Like, there's a physical studio that is ready to go. What do you mean no progress? My progress is slow. Yes, because I definitely could have had, should have been having people here already, but I digress. I already know the issues, and this experience really did light a fire under my ass about that, because it really showed me that that is just me having my eye off the ball is my, or is a very sore point for me. But anyway, so I let him bait me into going through this cycle of me defending myself, and then him saying that he understood, but then immediately contradicting it by saying that he also stands by this opinion of me being, or this label of me being indecisive, or that like I'm not ready. And yeah, again, it really just shouldn't have bothered me. But what's funny is, in that last week, how I knew that the communication needed to change was that I'm not an argumentative person, and he would get to 10 very easily. And I had seen it early on, where he was like, there were people that, or he would just get set off by other people very easily. So like, we were exhibiting this patterning that I see in my parents, and that I only ever exhibit with my parents, because for the most part I'm able to be rational and to have a conversation and just work things out. So we're going back and forth, but then this last time, I was the one that just kept getting getting heated, and like I was the one raising my voice, and it had gotten to a point where I just fucking lost my shit. I'm not even going to lie to you guys. I lost my shit. I was damn near fucking screaming at this guy. I wasn't disrespectful. I never resort to name calling, or to doing kind of what he did, which was like hitting below the belt. He saw it that way when I would bring up the things that he did that were bothering me. But on, like, with how I've kind of developed my coaching practices, I've figured out ways to put things that should not make people feel defensive. It's like, when, just a little bit of coaching advice, if you ever want to be honest with somebody, when you approach it from, you made me feel this way, as opposed to, you do this, it comes off very differently. And that's what I kept putting it out across, or how I kept putting it. But he was still interpreting it in a way that was defensive, and he would never say I was wrong. So that's how I knew he knew that I was right, but instead he would just flip it on me, so that it was a way of devaluing me. And I was very cognizant of it. And it's just funny, because the other thing was that I felt like I should have picked up on these things and gotten out earlier, but at the same time, it was really fast. Like, a month is really fast to get in and out of something, and I am proud of myself for that, because I spoke to two other girls that are my friends that ended similar situations at the same time, but their intervals were much longer. One girl was like a year and a half, and then the other girl was 8 years. So it's like, I even though I should have caught it from, or I should have probably dipped out on week 2. Who am I to really like complain and nitpick on that? But anyways, so when I was like damn near screaming at this guy, he got out of the car, and then I was just like, oh my god, this luggage, I'm not fucking taking this luggage. So I got out and I was like, take your luggage. He could have taken the luggage, it's on wheels. He was like within proximity of his building, 5 maybe 10 minutes depending on how fast he was walking. um so I took it out and I put it at the side of the building, and then this guy starts harassing me after, starts texting me, trying to call me to be like to basically yell at me about, um well, first he was starting to paint me as crazy now because I had yelled at him. And then he was trying to, I guess, guilt me. He was like, "Oh, now my stuff is gonna be gone because of you," and blah 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 blah. But I was just like, I just wasn't having it, because I was just like, dude, like, you literally could have taken it. Like, you're literally just trying to victim blame. You're trying to blame me and like play this victim, and it's not working on me. I don't really care how you paint me. At the end of the day, like, we don't have mutual friends. What are you gonna do online? Like, it just like, and that just should have been the realization way earlier. Basically it had showed me that there are still areas that of patterning I need to work on. But at the same time, I got the chance to really display how far I've come since my other relationships. So it was a great experience overall, regardless. Um, yeah, but it did get to the point where I just had to block him, because like the next day too, uh, he was harassing. Then he starts texting me about how, oh, the police called about the luggage, and now his family's upset with him because of the police. And I'm just like, yo, they're calling you to pick it up. And then there was just like some other shit that happened that like, it just really showed that he's really insensitive, or just not insensitive, but he just like I feel for him, because like it just like he's not connected to his emotions or something like that. It's just like his empathy is very very low. His compassion is very very low. um so yeah, I just blocked him because it was just like, it was a lot. And at that point, luggage is gone. I have no ties to him anymore, and it was done. And now it's just like, I've been on go, because again, yeah, like, the when I really sat with myself about why did I attract this? Like, why did this happen? Because again, if you know, I don't believe in coincidences, and the fact that it happened so synchronistically, like, I knew I was guided. Even in that when I was driving to bring that luggage back, I was seeing 222 everywhere. It was on my odometer. Yeah, I think it was on the odometer. It was on a license plate. It was on a building that I passed. And then the time, I have military time on the clock in my car. So it was 22:22 at one point. So I just knew that this was all aligned. Like, this was all meant to happen. And I believe part of it was for me to really just squeeze out the last bit of people pleaser within me, because yeah, and to really put into perspective what's important to me. Because yeah, this business, even though I've had a lot of moments of stagnancy with it, that are based out of fear and based out of the fact that, like, there was a part of me that wasn't feeling like I could do it, or feeling like I needed some other person to tell me that I could do it, even though I've been doing a lot of things by myself. I'm finding the balance now where I'm learning to accept help, and to accept the compliments people give me, and to take that and to allow it to fuel me, but to not rely on it. Um, but yeah, it also showed me that I can get ugly. I can get to that extreme, and it gave me a lot of appreciation for my mom because oh, I said that I wasn't going to mention um other stuff, but I went through a pregnancy scare, and it really put into perspective just that, like, yo, I would not reproduce with that guy. Like, if I had to have a child with him, even if I took this child to the fucking mountains and raised it by itself, by myself, and never saw him again, he would still have his DNA, his karma, like his genetic coding, like these little things, like him being so like there are certain things that that would just be inevitable to have to deal with. And I know that because I already have a daughter. I already am dealing with that in some capacity. But like my baby daddy now is a very great father. It's just like I know, I understand so much now about parent dynamics and environmental influence versus spiritual influence versus like genetic influence, and that's not something I'd want to recreate. And it really made me appreciate my mom for allowing me to exist, and for um for going through as much as she's gone through, even though I wholeheartedly believe that she should have left my dad a really long time ago, um and taken a chance on herself. But um yeah, it just made me think about what repeating a cycle really means, or like how many different ways we can put ourselves in positions to repeat cycles. And I would not be willing to sacrifice my dreams for somebody like that, um, or to put a life on this earth to recreate a cycle that then they would have to break the curse of, and may or may not, because I can't control another person. I could do my best in raising them, but at the end of the day, like, it's up to them, and it's about how conscious they can get and how what they allow to influence them, and whether it's just like I just saw how my life would have been. And yeah, it's honestly so crazy how much of my dad I saw in this guy, even though like and that's the thing, is that like I I hope this doesn't come off as judgmental, but I really don't believe he's a bad person. I don't believe any person is truly a bad person. I think it's just the conditioning and like generational patterns, habits just getting the better of us. And yeah, this guy was just like a very good mirror of my dad, and it made me become, or it put me in a position to be a very it to put to be in the role that my mom is in. But yeah, I broke, again, it was another chance for me to break the cycle, because I did, by closing out the relationship, or like not closing out the relationship, but like not respond letting it go at some point. Even though I could have let it go earlier, I let it go, and I put it to rest, and I blocked him. Even though that's something that I also usually don't do. I usually don't block people. Yeah, he's the only person I've ever like blocked. I've blocked unblocked people to like, not follow people anymore and not have them follow me. But I've never really had somebody like blocked like this, because like I think that that's should be for extreme situations or where you feel unsafe. And yeah, like I'm not gonna lie, I feel unsafe. I felt unsafe. I just felt like this was like toxic on a level that just was very unnecessary, and I really have no reason to be in contact with him. So that's the end of that. But all that to say, I think sometimes the universe shows us these things in a way that it shows us where our weakness is. I'm thinking about the story of Achilles' heel because it's like the whole thing about Achilles' heel is that he was defeated because he showed his weakness. And in this situation, my weakness was completely trusting my intuition instead of, yes, being guided by my intuition, but still being discerning as I let things unfold. And part of the reason for this is well, at the beginning of this happening, I remember I made a TikTok where I was just like, sometimes when things feel too good to be true, you need to just let it be true and you need to leave it alone. And what I meant by that was like, there's this notion that when something good is happening to us, that the other shoe is going to drop. And it's about being able to not overthink that part, because what you think about comes about. So it's like if you think another shoe is going to drop, it's going to drop. And I think fully trusting your intuition is something that's reserved for when you're doing things that maybe pertain to your higher purpose, or things that are pretty much just for you and within your control. Whereas when it comes to another person, I think I was very much in that mindset of, this is good, I'm going to let this be good, I'm going to enjoy this miracle. Whereas he definitely had the mindset of, because he had even said this in the end, like where he was like, I knew this would happen, like I knew this, that like this wasn't going to work out or something like that. And I was trying to explain to him that it didn't work out because he had that mentality, and he wasn't seeing that he was the one that was making the relationship fail, because every time I was bringing up a boundary or something that had bothered me as communication, as something that we could work through, he was taking it he was getting defensive and taking it and then just being defeated. So you can't control somebody else's perception, and that's always how it's going to be. And even in the parts where I should have let go earlier, I in no way could have can change how he wants to paint me, because if I need to be the villain in his story for his ego to survive, that's what he's going to do. It doesn't matter what evidence I did. There were actually something I did that I would say is slightly crazy. I took our entire conversation from, I think, the 2 week mark, put it into one of the AIs, and I asked it to go through decisiveness, clarity, honesty, just like a bunch of the traits that he was saying that I was off in, so that I could show him. And I made it like, I made it I made it do, or like analyze the dynamic neutrally, so that it could see where I was wrong and where he was wrong. And that's why I think I'm also so reflective, or like why I'm so like, okay, this is definitely where my weaknesses still are. Um, so that he could see where he was being hypocritical, because he wasn't accepting it, or he wasn't acknowledging it. He wasn't acknowledging the things that I was calling out, but he also wasn't saying that I was wrong about them either. So I knew he knew I was right. And I think that's also just what was bothering me, was that I had this inherent need for him to validate what I was saying, when I should have just let it go. So yeah, again, sometimes the universe shows us these things so that we know where to strengthen. And for me, I really see it as, this has made me stronger as a business owner, because you think I'm going to put up with people's bullshit now? Like, yeah, this guy tried to take half my business, bro. What the fuck? Like, there's nobody on this earth that is going to deter me from this path. I, and like, I think this is just like one of those great challenges that I went through because it gives me that tougher skin. And I'm thankful for it. And I am so excited for what's next because, like I said, fire has been lit under my ass. There's a lot I've been planning, a lot I've been putting forth. I am getting back into my rhythm with videos as well. I'm just getting back into making TikToks consistently as well. Hopefully, I will get back to, because at one point I was releasing a video almost every day or every other day. I want to get back to a kind of like, I want to be like half the, yeah, every other day ish, or like 3 videos a week kind of thing. I want to be able to get back to, because yeah, things do be on my mind. But even before that whole relationship happened, I was going through just like not really feeling like filming. But we back, baby. So I want to thank you all for listening. If this resonated with you, if you feel like you want somebody to be your mirror so that you can have a clear reflection on how you might be playing out a certain dynamic, or if you just want somebody to go through your thoughts with, hit me up. Link in the description. My email is there, my links are there. Book a call with me. um and if not, thank you again for your ears, and until next time.